I hope you're keeping going. You guys have stamina, I know that, because these days are long, but we keep the interest flowing, I hope, so we'll keep you going, and if not, just rush out, get a coffee, and bring it back. It's my last session of the day, and I know there's more to come, so do not move afterwards, but for my last session, we are focusing in on India, and if you earlier were listening to my chat with Eli Yunus from Radisson, you will have heard him say that the region he is most excited about in the world is India. Well, there's nobody better to discuss the current situation in India and the potential and the opportunities in India, nobody better than my guest, Puneet Chhatwal, who is the MD and CEO of the Indian Hotels Company Limited, which, well, you tell me, Puneet, I won't tell everybody, you tell me the scale of your current operations in India and then beyond India, looking worldwide.
Good afternoon, everyone. The scale of our operation is 345 hotels as a total portfolio, of which 230 is in operation, and exactly 50% of it, 115, is in the pipeline. We are a company with, like 1.5 billion in revenue, considered India's largest hospitality ecosystem, with selective presence in key gateway markets with the brand Taj, including 3 in Dubai, and rated as world's strongest hotel brand for the 3rd time in the last 4 years by Brand Finance, and India's strongest brand across all sectors, which means insurance, banking, etc.
And of those numbers, 300 plus hotels, how many of them are in India?
90% of that is in India.
Right.
And the strategy we have is also that it's going to stay in more or less similar proportion. We personally believe only in the travel of the luxury brand from Asia that can make it to the rest of the world. Not really in terms of planting flags with our other brands at different customer touch points.
So you're not looking to go global in the mid-market or anything like that? No.
No ambitions at this point of time. Actually, having worked for a lot of global companies, I can tell you that it's one part of the world that has succeeded in doing so. The others are best off if they stay within their regional markets. So I would call it the Indian subcontinent, and just kind of have a clean sweep in there and grow your luxury brand, which is the ability to travel across the national frontier, especially brands from Asia do that quite well.
Right, but maths isn't my strongest point, but if you've got 300 plus projects and 90% are in India, that's almost 300, 280 or whatever projects are in India. And then I'm thinking, well, India is a phenomenal story. I mean, we're talking the world's most populous country, pretty much. What is it, 1.3 billion at the moment, and it's going to go higher. And an extraordinary demographic change as more Indians enter the middle class. It actually sounds to me like 290 hotels or whatever it is, isn't that many? I mean, what's your vision for how much potential India has?
See, when it comes to India, we have to stay ahead of anybody else. Whether it's a global major or it is an Indian leader in hospitality, we have to be the #1 player, and that is where we are today. In terms of number of hotels, in terms of our revenue, in terms of our valuation, in terms of whatever else,
Right, and also reputation for quality.
In reputation for quality, belonging to the Tata Group. I think in every spectrum, except maybe number of rooms, we are a little shy of, depending how you count them. But we are coming from Tata Group, where we go and develop new destinations. We are known for nation building, and always scale does not necessarily translate into profitability or revenue. So I think...
But do you have a great faith in the expansion of the Indian marketplace in terms of Indian travelers?
Stephen, actually, that is not a great faith or just a belief, it's a conviction. I think what we are not covering is we are at the inflection point where Indians are going to move outside to the West.
Right.
So if you are based in UK, you would see how Indian businesses are doing in the UK. If you're based in the US, you would see how the leadership roles in the Microsoft to the IBM to the Pepsi have been occupied by people of Indian origin. So I think it's a very important point in history, but I think including in hospitality where unfortunately I would say the prices have doubled or tripled and the standards have gone down. It's a great opportunity for Asian brands in general and India in particular to get the Indian diaspora together and get Indian investments, which is happening, but it's not very much in the open. It's not been a part of our culture to actually go and make noise about it.
Well, as you're talking, Puneet, I'm thinking this region probably is somewhere that you then have a real focus on, because of course there are many ties with India here in the Gulf region and the Mideast, and therefore if you can carry brand loyalty with you as more and more Indians travel and more of them look to this part of the world to travel, you're onto a winner.
It's not just this region. As we speak, we just had the UN General Assembly where we have the pier in the New York on the 5th Avenue. If I look at the Wimbledon time in London, the St. James Court and the 51 Buckingham Gate gets the who's who of India for those few weeks. So I think it's a beautiful courtyard where everybody gathers together. And if you go as far as to the Cape, in Cape Town, you get there too. So I think there is a change that is happening. We were always very good. We are celebrating 120 years, oldest operating company of Tata Group. But now the change is in terms of growth. It took us 115 years to get to 115 hotels, and now we are 345 in the last 7 years. And Suma, who's sitting here, is our head of real estate and development. The first 6 months, her team signed 35 contracts. Now, this is not, this is exponential growth.
Yeah.
And this is true not just for the hospitality, this is true for all sectors in India, and it is emerging as a player. I think all you have to do is just look at Prime Minister Modi, how he takes every world leader and gives the magical hug from India. So I think we never witnessed that in history either. So I think it's happening.
It sounds like it's almost a painful hug, it's so tight.
That the other party has to say. For us, it looks like a delight out there.
Now, I've spoken to a couple of huge hotel group leaders today. Sebastian Bazin in particular, who has a huge ambition for Accor, and his strategy is very much to focus not on owning property, to be asset light, and to focus on operation and management. What's the philosophy inside your group?
I actually have always propagated over several decades, especially having lived in Europe, on the asset light, but I have changed my mind.
Have you?
Yes.
Why?
And that has come with the belonging to Tata Group. I think we have to take a longer term view. And as a sector, we should not be dictated just by analysts. I think owning certain assets in key markets, trophy assets, in flagship destinations is the core of building a brand.
Really?
Just
So,
relying
yeah.
on other people to build it means you don't actually believe in your brand yourself. And also in certain markets, it's impossible. So if a tender for important location comes up in India, and most of the important locations belong to the government, you will never fulfill the criteria on asset light. You have to be asset heavy. So it's just not real.
It's
As much
partly
as I love Bazin.
It's like a flexing of your status muscle, showing how far you India
Not
is.
really. Till a few years ago, we were a debt-ridden company. We were not making profits for 10 years. It's only off late that we became debt-free, and we are very profitable. We are very well valued. So it's not flexing anything. We have done that before also. It's not that you have to be always, be cash rich. But fortunately, today we have the best of everything. We have a growth in Indian economy. We have a growth, very strong growth, maybe the strongest in the world on GDP. We have a demographic dividend. We have the cash. We're in the right sector. People are beginning to travel. The future looks good. why not use your capital cleverly instead of just doing 100% asset light? So I think any company, any brand needs to figure out what is their sweet spot in how much percentage heavy and how much percentage light.
One element of sort of global strategic thinking where perhaps India isn't at the forefront is in climate change and the degree to which India demands more time, for example, to make an energy transition and is still, very much dependent on coal-fired power. Now, of course, that's a strategic decision, nothing to do with your hotel group, but I'm just wondering if in your hotel group and Tata, there is perhaps less of a urgency about, the ESG agenda, which we've just been hearing about in the previous debate and which is so dominant in parts of this industry now. Is it perhaps a bit less of a priority for you?
Not in our group. I think also India is beginning to do quite well on that front. Having said that, Tata Group was founded by Jamshedji Tata more than 150 years ago. And his mantra, which is written on all Tata Group companies, is the community is not just another stakeholder, rather the purpose of the existence of any business. So doing the community part is one thing, and that means taking care of the environment too. But we have our very comprehensive ESG Plus program, as the previous panel was discussing, which is called Pathya, which comes from the Sanskrit word, which is like embarking on the right path. And we have the 6 pillars of Pathya, which is renewable energy, to recycling of water, to skilling 100,000 people by 2030 to be 100% plastic free. I mean, I can go on. So, and we are ahead of all those goals because being a publicly listed company, this is a piece of information, as was mentioned by the previous panelists, which you cannot lie, you have to declare. It's a part of your BRSR reporting these days. And based on that, people invest in your stock. And we are very transparent about it and try to do the best we can.
Final, very brief thought. I mean, you've a long career in hospitality. I think somebody was telling me earlier that you speak pretty fluent German because you spent time working in German hospitality. Be honest with me, is there any place in the world you would rather be focused right now than India? I mean, does a part of you still wish you were working in Europe, or is it?
As I said on asset light, extremes are not good. Each company needs to decide what is their sweet spot. At the rate that we are growing, the 10, 12% or 15% of the total means a lot of that would be happening outside of India. And I was outside when I met Andrew, I think who's also here somewhere, from Hotel Analyst, and I was saying, you know what? Birmingham is a very good place to have Taj because of the Indian diaspora there. Yeah. We could do those lovely Indian weddings. A lot of people call him big fat, but I call them lovely and gracious Indian weddings. And we could do with a hotel in Switzerland. All of us who grew up with Bollywood saw Switzerland in a Bollywood movie. So why not have a Taj in Switzerland?
I get the feeling you've got lots of ambitions and you're still going to be expanding in years to come. So we want you back here to tell us where you've decided to put your...
You'll be surprised, 20 years ago we started this event with Jonathan. The very first one. Yeah. So it's thanks to Jonathan that...
Well, let's not go there. He'll get big-headed and we don't need him. We need him to do plenty more work before he walks off.
It's not, he's losing here, so the head is getting smaller.
Don't go there. Listen, Puneet, it's been a real pleasure. Wonderful. Thank you very much for giving us your insights and particularly telling us about India. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.